Okay, so am I audible now? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and
Yes,
apart,
sir.
yes, and apart from that, you also have to attempt, okay, the answers to the objective type questions. 2 marks. Okay, so attempt it by yourself, and if you are able to solve all those, it's fine. If you can't solve all those, just identify the questions which you fail to solve. Okay, next week, that is next Monday, we shall definitely take up all those questions for discussion. Okay, is it okay? Is it clear?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Now today,
Yes, sir.
I plan to begin a discussion of Dr. Ambedkar's speech at Mahad. You know that it is included in your course on Dalit literature. I hope you know that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And what is the unit number? It is 404. Yes. In
404, yes.
404, you have Dr. Ambedkar's speech at Mahad.
Mahat.
And today I have already shared the text of the excerpts of Dr. Ambedkar's lecture on the WhatsApp group. I hope you have
Yes.
got it, the text.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
I have
sir.
sent you a few PDF pages. Okay, and that is the text. Now, I had a plan to discuss certain important sections of that text in the classroom. Unfortunately, due to the lockdown, I was unable to take up the text for discussion with you. Now, in this online platform, I have a plan to refer to the important sections in the text, okay, particularly for comments and also for objective type questions. Although
Okay, sir.
although I have already uploaded the study materials on Dr. Ambedkar's speech at Mahad. Have you received it? Have
Yes,
you
Yes.
received
sir.
it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. I have provided
sir.
the study materials. I have discussed the major issues, and I have also provided a basic outline of how to write answers to different categories of questions. Okay, 8 marks, 4 marks, and 2 marks. Okay, follow it. But once again, that will be the homework for another week. Okay, in which you have to attempt the answers to different types of questions. Okay, is it clear? Now, how many of you have had
sir.
access to the text? How many of you? Am I audible? Do you have
Yes,
the text?
Yes,
Do you have the
sir. I
text?
have.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Could you have a look at the first 1 or 2 pages? Could you do it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have
Yes,
been.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me tell you about Dr. Ambedkar's speech at Mahad. But before I go into the details of the text, actually, I may not be taking up the text for detailed discussion today. Okay, we may begin the discussion next week. But today, I would like to tell you about the context of Dalit writing, okay, vis-a-vis the mainstream Indian literature. In fact, I hope that you have read some portions of Sharan Kumar Limbale's text on Towards an Aesthetic of Dalit Literature. Have you received the text? Have you
yes,
seen
yes.
some of you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you read some chapters of particularly the introduction to that book Towards an Aesthetic of Dalit Literature, you will find that Limbale argues that there should be an alternative, that is almost a separate kind of literary aesthetic for Dalit literature. Why? Because Dalit literature is totally different from mainstream Indian literature. Particularly, you should try to find out one essay by Marathi Dalit author and activist Baburao Bagul. Baburao Bagul
Yes.
wrote an essay on Dalit literature, on the aesthetic of Dalit literature, where Baburao Bagul argues that Dalit literature is predominantly a result of Dalit movement. And more interestingly, he argues that Indian literature is predominantly Hindu literature. Mainstream Indian literature is predominantly Hindu literature. Why? Because most of the authors were Hindus, and most of the early Indian writings talked about the Hindu way of life, the Hindu philosophy of life, and the Hindu texts as their trope, as their recurring points of reference. So, Baburao Bagul says that Dalits had no place, Dalit writing had no place in mainstream Indian literature because Dalits were not included in the fourfold caste system of Hinduism. Because Dalits were beyond the Varnashram of Hinduism. As you know, that there are four major
Four
Varnas
Varnas.
in Dalit literature, in Indian Hindu society: the Brahmans, the Kshatriyas,
The
the
Triya,
Vaishyas, and the
Vaisyas,
Shudras.
Sudras.
Okay. So naturally, what happens that the Dalits, or whom Dr. Ambedkar calls Ati Shudras, do not figure in the Varnashram of Hinduism. And as they do not figure in the Varnashram of Hinduism, they were never included in the mainstream of Indian literature. And more importantly, in the mainstream Indian literature, we find certain references to Dalit characters or some, Dalit realities, but all those projections, all those portrayals are very much, filtered and censored by the Hindu perspective, by the mainstream authorial perspective. So if you, for example, if you look at a typical novel of Mulk Raj Anand, Untouchables, if you read the novel Untouchables, you will find that the central protagonist, Bakha, okay, is presented in such a way, which is completely devoid of the authentic Dalit experience of life. It is because Mulk Raj Anand didn't have the Dalit consciousness. Okay, so Dalit authors repeatedly talk about Dalit consciousness. That is, being born a Dalit always gives a special kind of authenticity to the writer, which the Dalit authors feel cannot be experienced by a writer who is not a Dalit by birth. So naturally, the projections or delineations of Dalit characters and Dalit realities in mainstream Indian literature, even in Indian writing in English, the projection of Dalit realities has largely been, in a way, filtered through the upper caste sensibilities and understandings of Dalit life. So, if you look at Dalit literature, you will find that it is basically a manifestation of the movement, of the revolutionary fervor, of the different kind of protests for reclamation of identity, which we have experienced in the Indian subcontinent. And not only that, the Dalit movement had also been influenced by the African American movement for emancipation. And you can easily remember the instance of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr., who had been a leading light in the African American movement. In fact, there was the formation of Dalit Panthers in 1972, and it was influenced and inspired by the Black Panthers movement in America. So Dalit Panthers movement, which began in Maharashtra in the early 1970s, was the first major organized and consolidated Dalit movement, protest movement for the reclamation of Dalit identity in Indian society, politics, culture, and also literature. So if you look at the Dalit writing by Dalit authors, you will find that it began sometime in the early 1960s, and it gained momentum after the formation of the Dalit Panthers in the early 1970s. In fact,
Yes.
post 1972, you would find a spate of Dalit authors, particularly in Maharashtra, contributing their own literary creations to the oeuvre of Dalit literature. And that was the beginning of Dalit literature as part of Dalit movement in the Indian subcontinent. And after Maharashtra, you would find that the movement spread gradually to the southern states of India, particularly Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and even Kerala. And if you find the history of Dalit movement today, you will find that Maharashtra is followed by the major South Indian states where Dalit population developed and consolidated their stance of resistance, their protest movement to a large extent in a very successful manner. Now, if we look at the context of Dr. Ambedkar, who was Dr. Ambedkar? Dr. Ambedkar was arguably the best advocate of Dalit human rights in India. Dr. Ambedkar was the greatest scholar, Dalit scholar, and he was also a great humanitarian Dalit activist, and he was also the most vocal advocate of Dalit human rights in the Indian subcontinent. In fact, Dr. Ambedkar's life itself was full of humiliations and insults. And I would advise you to collect one book. I think the e-version is also available. The book is edited by Gopal Guru. The title is Humiliation, Claims and Context. Humiliation, Claims and Context. Probably I have referred to this book in the works cited section of the study material which I have uploaded on the university website. You will find this book in the reading list. So if you read that book, particularly the introduction, you will find how humiliation is a major parameter of Dalit exploitation and marginalization in the Indian context. In fact, you will find how humiliation has been used as a political, social, and cultural weapon to marginalize and oppress the Dalit communities. And there, humiliation is also closely related to the idea of untouchability. And Dr. Ambedkar, as you know, was born in such an untouchable caste in Maharashtra. He came from the untouchable caste of Mahar. They were known as Mahars, M-A-H-A-R. Mahar is an untouchable caste in Maharashtra. And if you look at the early life of Dr. Ambedkar, you will find how he had been insulted and in a way marginalized, cornered, and he was ridiculed by the upper class classmates and students at school. Same kind of experience which was there in the life of Om Prakash Valmiki, okay, also experienced by Sharan Kumar Limbale, Bama, and many other Dalit authors. So, Dr. Ambedkar's position in the Indian social context is quite relevant and significant because Dr. Ambedkar was the first Dalit intellectual who raised the issue of untouchability in the most effective manner. It was Dr. Ambedkar who wrote that treatise arguing the annihilation of castes. Okay, there is an essay, a very long essay by Dr. Ambedkar, The Annihilation of Caste, which is available in book form. Okay, you would also get it, I think, as e-book on the net. You can download it. No, if you read that essay, The Annihilation of Caste, you will be able to find out how Dr. Ambedkar is against the prevalence and continuation of the caste system in India. He considers the prevalence of caste system as the unique marker of inequality, and the prevalence of caste system is inimical to the spirit of democracy. Okay, so if you read Dr. Ambedkar, you will find that there was a basic conflict, there was a basic difference of opinion between Gandhi and Ambedkar. What was that? Okay, Gandhiji supported the Indian Varnashram. Gandhiji supported the virtue of the caste system on the basis of the division of labor. Whereas Dr. Ambedkar argued that in India, the caste system is not merely a division of labors, it is also a division of laborers. So untouchability is a unique experience of the Indian caste system, whereby inequality is so important and so paramount that the Atishudras can never dream of achieving social justice and equity in the Indian context. So, Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhi had very long-standing debates. In fact, there was a great debate on the use of the word, Harijan. Okay, Harijan, Gandhiji used the term Harijan, okay, as children of Hari, that is children of God. And by using the term Harijan, he wanted to accept the Atishudras, the untouchables, into the fold of Hinduism. Gandhiji never wanted the untouchables to break away from the fold of Hinduism. Why? Because Gandhiji wanted to unify and consolidate different strands of Hindu society into one anti-colonial and nationalist force of unity. So Gandhiji's plan was that of an inclusive political opponent against the British imperialist system. That is why he used the term Harijan as if to generate a sense of self-respect and dignity in the minds of the untouchables, and also to develop a sense of Catholicity and fellow feeling in the minds of the upper caste Hindus. But Gandhiji's idea of Harijan was not accepted by Dr. Ambedkar and other Dalit intellectuals. Why? Because Dr. Ambedkar considered the use of the word Harijan as highly paternalistic. It was a kind of concessional gesture which the upper caste Hindus was offering to the untouchables. Harijan once again smacked of Hinduism, which many Dalits were not ready to accept. that Dr. Ambedkar discarded his Hindu faith before his death. He was converted to Buddhism. He died a Buddhist. He was born a Hindu, but he died a Buddhist. So you can easily understand how the entire discourse of Indian nationalism was also interpreted by the Dalit intellectuals and historians as predominantly Hindu nationalist movement. And to be more precise, after the advent of Mahatma Gandhi, this Indian national movement was also known as a Gandhian national movement or Gandhian movement. So you can easily understand that the anti-colonial nationalist movement during the 19th and 20th centuries against British imperialism was once again very much a monolithic product of upper caste Hindu nationalism. And as the upper caste Hindus were the majorities, they wanted to establish their own point of view. They wanted to establish one particular version of Indian history which was not acceptable to the scholars like Dr. Ambedkar. Rather, Dr. Ambedkar and many other Dalit historians argued that there was always another very important movement going on inside the history of the colonized people. The history of Indian freedom struggle was not merely a conflict between the colonizer British and the colonized Indians. They said that there were many factions and divisions even within the colonized Indians. And the most important factor of discrimination and injustice was the torture of the untouchables within the Hindu society, within the colonized Indian society. So, if you look at Dr. Ambedkar, you would find that he was instrumental in bringing about a change, a paradigm shift in the reading of Indian history. Rather, we can say that Dr. Ambedkar was instrumental in developing what we nowadays call, a kind of subaltern view of Indian historiography. So if you really look at the genesis of Indian historiography, we find that Dr. Ambedkar had a major contribution in developing the subaltern perspective. And before Dr. Ambedkar, there was Jyotiba Phule, who was a major social reformer, a Dalit activist, intellectual, and in a way, a Renaissance man in the history of Maharashtra. And Jyotiba Phule was ably assisted by his Jyotiba Phule was also ably assisted by his wife, Savitri Bai Phule, who was a very passionate crusader for the Dalit people, for the untouchables, and who served the people during the devastating plague in Mumbai in the late 19th century. And Savitri Bai Phule was so heavily involved in nursing the plague-ridden patients that she herself had contracted, plague at one point of time, and she had to be transported to England for treatment. So if you look at the life of Jyotiba Phule and Savitri Bai Phule, and you know that now Pune University is named after Savitri Bai Phule. This is Savitri Bai Phule Pune University. So if you look at these two, social reformers in the Marathi context, you will find that they were probably the first major advocates of Dalit human rights in the context of Maharashtra and also in the larger context of India. Dr. Ambedkar was an able disciple of Jyotiba Phule. And Dr. Ambedkar developed himself and groomed himself into a full-fledged lawyer, an economist, a philosopher, and a venerable academician who played a major role in the Indian freedom struggle, particularly by representing the Dalit people of India. In fact, there is also a great debate regarding the Pune Pact of 1932. You know that the Pune Pact was originally planned for the division of reserved constituencies for different minority groups. No, Dr. Jinnah and the Muslim League claimed their share for the Muslims as minorities. Similarly, Dr. Ambedkar also claimed a separate constituency for the Dalits. But Gandhiji did not subscribe to this view of a separate Dalit constituency. So Mahatma Gandhi began a fast unto death. He initiated a hunger strike, and it was so impactful upon the Indian people that finally Dr. Ambedkar had to withdraw from his demand. And it was Rabindranath Tagore who also requested Mahatma Gandhi to withdraw his fast. And in the Pune Pact, where there was an opportunity for the Dalit people to have a separate constituency for them, was finally set to naught by the hunger strike of Mahatma Gandhi. So you would always find that Dr. Ambedkar was a force to reckon with in the Indian political, social, cultural, and national contexts, particularly in the context of Indian National Congress. Dr. Ambedkar was always a major force to reckon with. He was always a compelling presence upon all other nationalist leaders. In fact, Dr. Ambedkar was instrumental in the preparation, in the drafting of our Indian Constitution. He was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Indian Constitution. And you know how Dr. Ambedkar was instrumental in banning the use of the term, untouchables. The use of the term untouchables is a penal offense. It's included in Indian Constitution. We should refer to them as ex-untouchables or former untouchables. So Dr. Ambedkar played a pivotal role in reviving the dignity and honor of the untouchable classes in India. In fact, they were described by different names by the British as depressed classes, later as scheduled castes. But in a way, Dalit, the word is more acceptable as it has a more universal connotation. The term Dalit has been embraced not only by the scheduled castes, but also by even the other communities, the other backward classes. And if you read the interview of Sharan Kumar Limbale, the interview taken by Arjun Dangle at the end of that book, Towards an Aesthetic of Dalit Literature. Have you seen that interview, any one of you? There is a long interview of Limbale taken by Arjun Dangle. Have you seen it? Any one of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir. I
if
have
you-
come
yes,
across.
Yes. So if you follow that interview, you will find that Limbale argues in favor of including even the Adivasis into the fold of Dalit. And I would cite another example. If you read the English translation of Masweta Devi's novel Choti Munda O Tar Tir, Choti Munda and his arrow, translated by Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak, you will find Spivak writes an epilogue to that translated work of fiction. And in that epilogue, if you read the last line by Spivak, you will find she writes, Birsa Munda is a Dalit. Birsa Munda is a Dalit. Who was Birsa Munda? Birsa Munda was the leader of the Mundari rebellion, which took place around 1899 and 1900 in the Chotanagpur plateau. And you know how Birsa Munda revolted against the British oppressive regime. And it was an armed revolution in which Birsa Munda finally became unsuccessful. Okay, and he died a very miserable death. That's a different issue. But it was Birsa Munda who organized and unified the entire Munda community of the Chotanagpur plateau, and for the first time offered the British a very stiff challenge. Okay. And it was Birsa Munda, who was an Adivasi, okay, who was a tribal person, okay, was described by Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak as a Dalit. So you can easily understand that the term Dalit is used in a very broad sense. Okay, it is an ideological marker. The word Dalit is used in a metaphorical sense. Dalits are all the oppressed, marginalized people of the world. So from that point of view, Dalit has a very broad connotation. But if we look at the word Dalit from a very specific ontological perspective, we find that the word Dalit applies only to the untouchable castes, untouchables, who are described by Dr. Ambedkar as Ati Shudras, or they are also described as Panchama, because you know in Hindu Varnashram we have Chaturvarna, and the untouchables are the Panchamas, Ati Shudras, untouchables. So ontologically speaking, Dalits are the untouchable castes, but ideologically speaking, Dalits are all the marginalized people of the world, all the minority communities of the world. So this is my introductory observation on the speech, Dr. Ambedkar's speech at Mahad. Okay, I think that this introductory observation would give you a perspective, would enable you to understand the speech of Dr. Ambedkar, which I shall begin reading in my next online class, that is next Monday. Okay, and I hope by this time you will have a good look at the text itself. Okay, I advise you to read the text once, okay, so that when we meet once again next week, okay, we shall go directly to the text and try to explain certain important things and certain important allusions which Dr. Ambedkar has made during his speech in order to highlight the miserable plight of the untouchables in the Indian subcontinent, and also the need to develop a new kind of paradigm whereby the practice of untouchability would be removed and discarded forever in order to achieve real social equity, egalitarianism and justice. Okay, so I stop here, and I would now like to receive maybe a few questions from you. It may be from any text that I have taught. If you feel like asking any question, but it's already the scheduled time limit of 40 minutes is over. Somehow Zoom is offering me extra time, I think so. Anyway, now can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Rinalika, Mousumi, Vikas, Belal, Aradhana, Smita, and who are others? Nobonita, Nirupam, Shontu, Ria. The Ria is not there. Ria is static. Nahida, yes. Sadiyat, yes. How are you, Sadiat? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Sadiat? No, she can't hear me. Jyoti Bandana, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Shubhadeep, can you hear me? Shubhadeep. No, Shubhadeep can't hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yes, yes.
I have muted my
Vikas?
audio.
Vikas can hear me. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Vikas has a
I
nice
can hear-
headgear, you know. I don't have that headgear. Anyway.
I don't have any other headphone.
That's great. Actually, you know, we were not prepared. And as you all know, that there was a very sudden decision for this total lockdown. So we didn't have time to reorganize us. Thankfully, I had this, laptop at my home. So I could use this screen. Otherwise, I could have, used my smartphone, only this small screen. It would not have served the purpose. And more importantly, on smartphone, you cannot record your lecture. That is the problem. Okay, at least on this laptop screen, I am able to record my lecture. It is being recorded. The lecture is being recorded.
Yes.
Okay. So, do you have any remark, any question, anything? You can ask me anything or any suggestion. I tell you once again, as I have, I'm seeing all of you here together. I tell you once again that the study materials which we have provided are very important. I tell you once again, because we have prepared the study materials keeping in mind the different types of questions, 8, 4, and 2. Okay, so and the questions are also important. The issues which we have discussed are very important, and particularly the objective type questions. Okay, so I would advise you to solve all those questions, okay, on your own. Okay, we have provided, say, 1 or 2 paragraphs, okay, as as a kind of what we can call a specimen kind of thing. But this is not the complete answer. You have to add something on your own. Okay, you have to add something on your own, and you will get many materials on the website. Spark Notes and many other guides are available on the net. Okay. And do you have access to JSTOR articles now?
Yes, sir.
Do you have
Yes,
access
sir.
to JSTOR articles?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Some of you have access to that. Anyway, so if you have access to that, you can download 1 or 2 essays. Okay, 1 or 2 important essays, or maybe the books which I have referred in my reading list. Okay, you may try to find out those books online if they are available as e-books. Okay, try to find out the books. And I will do another thing also. I will definitely share with you on your WhatsApp group. Okay, maybe some important articles, okay, in the PDF form or in the Word format that I collect online or maybe from other sources. Okay, so I will share some of the articles with you. Don't worry at all. Okay, I may also provide a few more materials to you. Okay. But the questions, the topics, and the questions which we have discussed in our lecture notes are very important.
Okay, sir.
Okay, are very important. So, shall I call it a day? Shall I end for today? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Acha, one thing I would like to know, can we take a group photo? Is there any option? Can we take a photograph?
Screenshot.
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 How can I take it? Will
We are
you
taking
help me?
Screenshot and then we will share it to the group.
I will take a screenshot. How can I take the screenshot? Just tell me. Oh, by using my mobile.
Control plus. No, sir. You can do it on laptop. Control plus print screen. Control plus print screen. Plus print screen.
Oh.
Control plus print screen. Somewhere button.
Yes, nobody will tell me.
Install. Control plus print screen. This
Real screen.
beside. Okay. Have you pressed that? Control plus print screen?
Control I have pressed. Next.
Print screen. Look on the top row.
Hmm.
Okay.
And
Then open paint. Then open paint all.
No, that will be a little
Paint.
bit difficult for me. Leave it for today. Okay, we will do it next day.
Yes, sir, I will
Sir,
send
we
you.
are taking a snapshot, then we
Take
will
a photo
share
by
it.
your phone.
Snapshot.
Yes, we are taking a snapshot and then we will
Sir,
share it in the
sir, I take one photo, sir.
Okay, you take that.
Okay, one screenshot.
You take photos and share it on the WhatsApp group.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Am I visible in your screenshot?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very prominent.
Sir, I have a question.
You have
Sir.
a question, yes. Is
Sir,
it
I'm
an
Tarshul
overwhelming
Padi, sir.
question or a simple one?
It's a simple one.
Okay, what is that?
Sir, I have a question that, sir, is there any influence of Leo Tolstoy upon Gandhiji?
Yes, there's a great influence of Tolstoy upon Gandhiji. In fact, Gandhiji was inspired by Tolstoy farm. Okay, Tolstoy's experiment with socialism, Tolstoy's ideas of equality and social justice. In fact, Gandhiji was inspired by Tolstoy to develop his idea of satyagraha. Satyagraha. Many say
Yes.
that Tolstoy experimented with truth, okay, in a very big way in his Tolstoy farm. And Gandhiji wrote a long letter to Tolstoy, his blessings, before he came to India to initiate the freedom struggle. And he also received a reply from Tolstoy, which he valued, he treasured a lot. Anyway, then actually there is a long essay on the influence of Tolstoy upon Gandhiji by Shashi Bhushan Dasgupta, a famous Gandhian. Shashi Bhushan Dasgupta. In fact, I have edited one volume which will come out, I think, within a couple of months. It is Gandhi-inspired literature in Bengal. Gandhi-inspired literature in Bengal. It will be published by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, which was established by Mahatma Gandhi, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Okay, and in that book, I have included many such important essays that trace the influence of world leaders upon Gandhiji and Gandhiji's influence upon Bengali authors, poets, novelists, dramatists, and others. Okay.
Yes.
So it begins with Satyendranath Datta and it ends with, say, Vishnudev, Buddhadev Bose, Jivanananda Das, and many others. Many others. Dinesh Das, the Marxist poet. Many more,
Yes,
almost
yes,
all the major Bengali poets responded to Gandhiji's assassination on 30th January 1948. There were many poems on that. Anyway, any more
Thank you, sir.
questions?
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Have you taken a few screenshots? Okay. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir. Sir, I
goodbye.
have a
Yes, sir.
question.
Take.
Sir, I
Yeah.
take many
Yes.
screenshots.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Stay safe at home. Stay at home. Okay. See you
Yes,
again
sir.
next week.
You too.
Monday. See you again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank